What you're about to hear are stories from members of the 200th Military Police Command. You will look upon the faces of very young people who speak with a wisdom that will astound you. You're going to hear voices full of the powerful passion of those who have overcome adversity. You're going to be moved by the deeply personal stories which these soldiers and civilians share. And through it all, you're going to hear a common theme. We, as soldiers and U.S. Army Reserve civilians, have something which others don't. We are members of a team, and we have battle buddies. When asked what motivated them to step forward and participate in this project, the common theme was, because of what I've been through, I am stronger. I'm stronger and I can share and I can help. More importantly than that, I want to help and I see it as my duty to help. So I ask you to listen to these stories. And I ask you to remember that we have teammates, we have battle buddies, that we are teammates and we are battle buddies. We got this.
I am a civilian law enforcement officer in the state of Georgia, and I am a 20-year veteran still serving in the United States Army Reserve. I'm a father of 7 children, 5 of which being girls. I felt that I had to protect them. Wasn't nobody going to protect them the way that I could. And something happened to one of my daughters in my own home by a family member that turned everything upside down.
My depression and anxiety actually started when I lost my son at the age of 3 months to sudden infant death syndrome. I was very depressed, very in a dark place, very, very alone.
One of my best friends died by suicide. He was 18, I was 19 at the time. I went about 2 or 3 weeks just kind of not talking to anybody, angry, filled with all these different emotions, sadness, distancing myself, and basically blaming myself for what had happened.
My father was the one that taught me how to play guitar. He worked at Aberdeen Proving Grounds for 32 years. He was a rocket scientist. He was actually a rocket scientist. And one of his favorite things to say is, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure this out, but if you need one, I'll be upstairs. He unfortunately contracted terminal cancer when I was in ROTC. He survived for about 4 years until the day after I graduated and commissioned as a lieutenant. I was able to give my bars to him when he was on his deathbed. And that was just a traumatizing experience.
There's nothing that I had experienced in combat or a police officer that would prepare me for something of that magnitude happening to me, to her, while I'm there. I had to keep up the persona for her and the rest of the family that I was strong and that I would take care of this. But on the inside, it was killing me.
I was actually, in 2014, admitted to the hospital not once, but twice for suicidal ideations. The psychologist asked several questions, of course, and one of the main questions that stood out to me was the one of, have you ever thought about killing yourself? Of course, the E7 in me wanted to say no. The GS11 at the time wanted to say no because I don't want to lose my security clearance, because that's not only my livelihood for the military, but for civilian as well. So I never got help. Probably about 3 or 4 months later, was a time where I was admitted to the hospital again, and this time it wasn't voluntary, it was involuntary.
The first time I was hospitalized, I didn't really believe in getting help. I kind of thought it kind of showed that I wasn't as strong as I should be, especially being in the military. So I kind of weaseled my way through, said I was fine, got done with what I needed to do, and was let go. And then another incident occurred where a NCO from my previous unit had actually died from suicide. And that was kind of like the unveiling of everything that occurred, and I ended up getting hospitalized for the second time, and I was scared that I was going to lose my career, lose everything that I've worked hard for, what I've built up to. Scared that other people were going to think of me more of a liability than an actual soldier.
There was a period in my military career where I realized that I didn't trust myself around firearms. If both of my hands are on this guitar, I physically can't do anything wrong. If both of my hands are occupied by an instrument, I physically cannot pick up a knife, I can't pick up a bottle, I can't do anything because my hands are occupied by this instrument, by these 6 strings and wood. One night before BA, I had a lot of thoughts. It was specifically stressful, and I came forward the next day, and in the morning I told my commander, I have something I need to tell you about, and he could tell by the look in my eyes that I was tired, that I hadn't slept in 2 days. And the first thing that came out of my first sergeant's mouth was, "Are you thinking about killing yourself?" And I really reluctantly sat there in that chair. I decided, I said, yes, absolutely. And it was from that moment, they dropped everything. They dropped everything in order to take me to the ER in that moment. And I'm so thankful for it. You know, he really created this environment for me to feel safe and wanting to go back to drill every weekend, just to let him know that I was doing better. And that was one of the best experiences.
I didn't want to do anything in my house because I didn't want my family to have to clean up my mess. And I walked to the middle of the street and I looked both ways. There were no cars coming. And I said, this is it. I'm going to do it. My neighbor, who is also a veteran, was outside cutting his grass. He called me over. I walked over to his yard and he said, "Brother, what are you doing?" I said, just looking. He said, "That's bullshit. I see it because I've done it. I was there. So I could see it a mile away." He said, "I can pretty much smell it on you. Let's talk." And that day, he knew it as well as I did. He saved my life.
My reinvestigation for my security clearance was happening all in the same year. So if anybody ever tells you that you'll lose your job, you'll lose your promotion, you'll lose your clearance based off you reporting that you need help, please, please, please don't believe that stigma, because I am living proof that seeking help is the best option and really the only option for me, and that you can continue your career and have a very successful career, not only in the military, but also as a civilian as well.
Today, not only am I a better person, but I'm a better soldier. Yeah, thoughts of suicide did arise multiple times, but what stopped me from doing that was just seeing the pain and the grief that my buddy has caused all of his loved ones and his friends around him.
And how would they feel if you gave up and you ended it all? And why do they have to keep fighting when the strongest person in their eyes gave up and didn't continue to fight?
So we wear this uniform to serve. And basically when you're in a time of need and a time of sadness or grief, you can't perform to the extent that you want to. That's why I'm telling my story, to kind of help you realize that, you know, it's okay to ask for help, it's okay to feel down, it's okay to hurt, but it's not okay to quit.
Don't give up. Fight. You're never powerless. You're never worthless.
And I think that's what people suffer most from when it comes to depression and suicide, is they feel alone. They don't feel like they're valuable. They don't feel like an asset to the team. People that really are open to sharing these issues that they've had really brings a unit together. It really brings a family together. It brings any team together when you are real.
You need each other. We need each other. Without each other, we're nothing. So why would you suffer in silence? Tell someone. Reach out. It doesn't make you less of a man or less of a person, period, for you to seek for help. That's why we all exist, to complement each other, to make each other better.
I think that it's allowed me to become a better soldier because I'm more empathetic with my soldiers, and that while we have to be tough as senior leaders, we can also be empathetic as well. So calling them maybe once a week, checking on them, seeing how their family is doing, what they've been up to outside of the military spectrum has helped me to grow as a leader and to show my soldiers that I care for them and that I want to be there for them outside of the military as well.
When I was 6 years old, my mother died from suicide.
My brother, who was 2 years younger than myself, died by suicide.
On October the 17th, 2017, my father died by suicide.
It's really hard for me myself to accept that my brother died by suicide because he was such a happy-go-lucky, cheery person.
I was in elementary school, and I remember one of my aunts coming to pick me up from school. So later on that day, I found out that I was never going to see my mother again.
I always expected to bury my father, just not quite so soon.
He left behind sisters. He left behind myself, who ended up having 3 young men. And every day when I look at one of them, he reminds me of my brother so much.
I've gone through a lot of different emotions, from sadness to anger. I was angry at her for a long time. The simplest things that